South Dakota state record walleye was just absolutely shattered again. What makes the Walleye Nation's Creations Reaper so special anyway? And a fancy new ice rig for you Midwesterners. We got that and more coming up right now in Target Walleye's Top 5 presented by Seafoam. Let's dive on in. It was barely just a couple weeks ago when Aaron Shuck broke a 21-year-long standing record when he got a 16.5-pound South Dakota walleye trolling a Walleye Nation's Creations Reaper on Lake Oahe. Wow. But now, just 15 days later, that new record was absolutely blown out of the water again. Keith Pazor's certified Lake Oahe stud hit the scales at 17 pounds, 13.92 ounces, and measured a paunchy 33 inches long with a 22-inch girth. He caught and netted that fish by himself. He was fishing solo. I cannot imagine a more terrifying net job than trying to finagle that thing in by yourself. But at least if something went awry, you'd have nobody else to blame, right? Apparently, he had only been fishing for about 30 minutes when he caught that behemoth. He knew it was something special, and so he headed straight for the access to go get that thing weighed on a certified scale. It was a Saturday, so it was a busy boat ramp, and everybody was still trying to put their boats in that morning when he was already coming in to take out. And everyone was assuming that he was maybe having boat problems or something, going the wrong way in a one-way, right? Nah, man, just catching records. Wild enough, this new record was caught on the same bait as the 16.5-pounder from a couple weeks ago, which brings us to number 2. Like I said, both of these new South Dakota state record walleyes, a couple of the heaviest walleyes caught anywhere over the last decades and decades and decades, were caught on the exact same bait, a Walleye Nation's Creations Reaper. And for the record, I've owned a batch of them since well before all this state record talk.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
That, man.
Now, one of the things that sets it apart from a lot of the other stick baits most people are running is, as you can see, it's wider and taller, broader than a lot of those other stick baits. And a lot of these big fish in systems are eating Cisco's. It depends where you're from. You might call them lake herring or tullibees, but they have that broader shad profile. Just like the Reaper, it's a big, obnoxious bait for big fish. It's got a nice wiggle to it, even if you're trolling slow, like 1.5, or even slower, like you would in cold water this time of year. Another thing that really makes it stand out, besides the colors, is its super loud, obnoxious rattle chamber. It's like a lot of crankbaits seem like they have almost like a tube for the BBs or whatever in there, the rattles, and this just seems like it's a whole room full of noise. Why am I not taking this one out of the package? Ooh, baby. I wonder if chrome was a bad idea with all the lights I have shining at me. So this bait will already dive down 25 or even 30 feet unassisted, so just from your rod tip to the bait. But what a lot of guys are doing, including the new record holder, is putting a snap weight on that bait so you can get it down to depth without having as much line out. And what that's allowing folks to do is to run forward-facing sonar, like backwards facing sonar, out the back of the boat, and still have those baits close enough that they can see them on the screen, and then they can know exactly how deep they're running, if they need to move it up or down, and if fish are following and how they're reacting to the bait. And if you're wondering what specific colors these records were caught on, well, that's too interesting of a story to not have its own top spot, so that brings us to number 3. So you already know that Walleye Nation Creations makes killer walleye baits. But did you know that the fellas that are behind the company can catch them? And yep, even on game day and tournaments too. They're DieHard Fishheads. And these two guys, Bill McGannon and Brian Hunke, are the whole company. So they wear a lot of different hats, including coming up with bait names, bait colors, and color names. I believe the Reaper comes in 48 or 50 stock colors. There's a bazillion of them, and that doesn't even include the custom colors. But here's where it gets really crazy. Each of these guys designed just one color to name after themselves out of the bazillion options, the McGannon Special and the Hunky Hammer, and those were the two colors that caught the state records in just a couple week window, and two fellas who had no idea who each other were or that each other were using that bait. Like, what are the odds of that? And if that's not going to start some sort of office rivalry between the two, I don't know what is. But just make sure you play nice, you two. The ice fishing season is coming in hot, or cold, or however you want to word that. And for how quickly the seasons change up here, maybe this wasn't such a bad investment by Caleb Holman. Anything beats walking 6 miles toting your gear, and I love that he painted it blue to match that glam fish trap too. Now, I don't personally know the guy, but I saw that Caleb owns a lawn care, landscaping, snow removal company in the new London Spicer, Minnesota area, and it's called Lakes Area Property Services, and I think by me mentioning that, he can probably use that ice rig as a tax write-off for advertising purposes now.
How is it a write-off?
They just write it off.
You don't even know what a write-off is.
But they do. And they're the ones writing it off.
Just make sure any money saved goes right back into the business of fishing. Did you know that Minnesota is taking submissions for a new state flag and seal, and that we could be rocking new symbols as soon as this next spring, I believe, and they've already received over 2,600 submissions, and you're dang right that I scrolled through every single one. I gotta say, if we're living in the land of 10,000 lakes and millions of fishermen, I was pretty disappointed to see that out of 2,600 submissions, only maybe 15 even referenced fishing at all, let alone walleye, our state fish. This is most of them so far. Obviously, some folks are taking it a little more seriously than others. But this next one made me laugh way more than it should have. Hashtag Target Walleye. And apparently there's at least one squatch hunter in the bunch. I know Mr. Bass Blaster, Jay Kumar himself, would like this one. Not bad, but hopefully, I mean, come on, please tell me that the end result is going to have a little bit of some kind of fishing something involved somewhere on there. That wraps up this week's Top 5. A big shout out to Seafoam for keeping us running smooth and making this fun video series possible. If you want more walleye and ice fishing related content like this, sign up for our free Target Walleye emails at targetwalleye.com, and I'll see you back in 7.